so lovely to have you in the studio. Thank you so very much for joining us this morning. I am so excited to talk about this book. Guys, I just want to show you. I've been reading a little bit about this book and it's so amazing. Inventors, bright minds, and other science heroes of South Africa. Amazing. I firstly want to say congratulations on writing such an insightful and amazing book. Just tell me, Engela, where did this passion and love for science and storytelling develop for you?
I've been a writer. I've written all my life. I like writing and I like languages. So I'm a journalist by training.
Okay.
And so you get different types of journalists. You get a political writer and a sports journalist. I choose to write about people's research and their science. So that's what I do. Someone does the research and I write a story about it. And then we send it to the newspapers or I write about it for magazines and such. So that's my choice. So that on the one hand. And on the other, I am a mother and I have 2 daughters. And people who like words and stuff, we always think that we need to write a book.
Yeah.
And I've always wanted to write a book. And then at some point I realized I want to write a book, but it doesn't help me to write this big novel of deep interest that my children can't understand. I want to write a book for them that will enlighten their world and also the world and their friends. So I took the work that I do as a science journalist and I started writing children's stories about the people that I've interviewed. Many of them I've interviewed personally and other people that I know of and spoke to later on. So it's a combination of being a science journalist and being a mother and doing something for my children but also for other children. Yeah.
So would you say that was the major intent behind the book and that was who you were writing it for?
Yeah, firstly my children and then other children in South Africa who need to do a school oral or a school theme or a school talk, you know.
Yes.
So often you have to do something about a local hero or you have to do a story or write something or do an oral about a hero. I've always wanted my children to write about the people that I work with because they are amazing. I have a wonderful job. I get to work with some of the most brilliant people and that's a privilege. So I wanted to give them, my children and other children, the opportunity to have a source where if they get the opportunity to chat at school, do an oral, they can choose their own local South African heroes and science heroes because the book only has people who are South African either by birth or they've worked here for the bigger part of their lives.
Wow, that's great. That's amazing. So if I think about, there's obviously a lot of people out there that are inventors and that are scientists in South Africa. Yeah. How was your selection process when it came to the heroes that we read about in this book?
I went about it in the following way. I decided people who did some kind of first. So it's the first type of transplant. So we have the first heart transplant, Chris Barnard. We also have the first 3D ear transplant, a 3D middle ear transplant. It was conducted by a professor at University of Pretoria, Professor Mashuda. And then, for instance, we also have the first penis transplant in the world was done in South Africa, but incidentally by a doctor who he didn't grow up in Wellington, but he went to school in Wellington at Huguenot High, and he performed the world's first operation of that kind, which is was transformative already for at least 2 gentlemen. So that first type of first, so the people invented some new type of gadget that wasn't there before, or discovered new species, a new species of earthworm, a new species of velvet worm, or a new species of flower, for instance. And then also people who were part of major scientific projects in South Africa. For instance, I took Bernie van der Hoef. He was the guy who led the whole square kilometer array project with the radio astronomy in Carnarvon. So he led that, so I'm telling his story. also then therefore showcasing that as a major science project in South Africa. Yeah.
Wow, it's amazing. When I think about when I was in school, I always had this desire, especially when it comes to history. Like I wanted to hear about history, but I wanted to relate also to it. And when I look at when I read a little bit in the book, it's so relatable.
Yeah,
and
I hope so.
that was probably the idea that you had, just for students or scholars also to know that, oh, it's someone from Johannesburg, so it's possible for me also to be.
Yeah, I
to be
made,
that
I made a
scientist
point
and
of
later.
adding the names of the schools from which everyone comes, like Benoni High School or Huguenot High School or Pretoria High School, Boys High School, for instance, so that if you are from that school, that you can know that it is possible for you to become someone brilliant or to be someone brilliant. Yeah.
Fantastic.
And often, everyone in the book, people often ask me, so is it only professors or is it only really, really brilliant people in the book? And I say no.
Yeah.
So some of the people in the book only had grade, I think there's one guy that only had grade 10. Sure. There's Oma in the book. She was 75 when she invented some type of a wind pump gadget for her husband. So you don't necessarily just have to be a professor to make a major breakthrough or do something brilliant. You can do it in your own space because you know your own space and you know what needs to be changed in your own space. Yeah.
And it tells me, when you talk about it like that, it shows me that this book is for all generations.
Yes,
It connects basically grandma and grandchild.
Absolutely. I have a huge adult following, I've realized. Yeah.
Oh, really?
And many people have written to me or sent me voice notes saying they did not know this about their country and their country's people. And that was one of the reasons why I wrote it, is because we often tend to ditch the people around us, and we also tend to forget the people who are the ones keeping this place going, the engineers, the doctors, the nurses, the water specialists. We forget about them. There's people in the background that we don't celebrate enough, and that's my way of celebrating them.
It would be so amazing if this can be part of the school syllabus. I think wish. This would be...
Or at least in school libraries.
Yes, exactly, because it will, I'm just thinking it will fire up kids even from small ages, just to tell them like, someone that's similar to you, that's from the same place as you, has done this before, so it's possible for you to do it.
All bright people do not only come from America or Britain.
There we go,
And it's also available in Afrikaans.
Fantastic.
So I first wrote it in Afrikaans.
Yes.
And then I translated it into English, and it's the English is from Penguin, and the Afrikaans was published by Lapa. Yeah.
Awesome. Are we going to get it in a few more languages in the future?
That's my absolute dream. When I started off, I told everyone I actually want to be able to do this in all South African languages. So at least now I've got it in English, and someone else needs to translate it into Xhosa and Zulu, I must admit. It's not going to be me. I'm not proficient in those languages. But that would be my ideal. Firstly, getting into all libraries and into the school curriculum would be wonderful.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to that. I'm holding thumbs for that because it would be such a life changer for the scholars.
Yeah. So Afrikaans is already going into reprint this year. So I'm quite excited about that.
Awesome, fantastic. Engela, tell me, what was the most inspiring during this process of writing? What was most inspiring thing for you?
I think that one thing that I learned from most of the people is that often you have to try and try and try and keep on trying to get your thing done. You have to do many tests to get a pill developed. You have to go through a series of patent options before you get your plan and your invention out there. And before you get and you have to keep on, and that luck also plays a big role. Luck, you can have a big plan, but luck also has a big role to play in that.
Awesome.
But keep at it, and if you don't try and work at it, it's not going to fall into your lap. These are people who have worked hard for what they've done.
Definitely.
And that's also one, and often they do it not for their own pockets, but for the greater good of South Africa and the world. Yeah.
Yeah, awesome. So tell us, where can we find these books? Where can we go buy?
In Paarl, for instance, you'll be able to get it at Bargain Books and P&A, I know.
Yes.
And then in Wellington at the Breitenbach Centre, there's a wonderful second-hand bookshop called the Book Traders,
Yeah.
and it's also available there. And in Wellington, it's also at Creatief. If I'm correct.
Awesome. And in the future, what do we see in the future?
So next up, we're doing the reprint of this. I have
Yes.
to update it now, and
Yeah.
that hopefully the new version will be out in March. And then I'm going to on the side start writing on a new version of that. So if people have ideas, please send them to me. That would be lovely.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
And where can they get a hold of you? Social media?
Yes,
following?
I'm on Instagram at Engela Duvenage and also on
Fantastic.
Facebook.
Yes.
And otherwise, they can email me at engeladuvenage@gmail.com, and that's Duvenage without an H. Otherwise,
There we
it doesn't work.
There we go.
Yeah.
Engela, thank you so very much. This was so insightful, and I'm looking forward to see even more in the future of these books. And then there we go. If you want to buy a nice gift, for your child, I would suggest this is what you need to buy. Grandma, grandpa, buy this gift for that child to open up the child's imagination and to let them know that they are inventors, they are scientists. They just need to discover that. Awesome. Thank you, Engela.
Thank you.
Have a lovely day.
Thank you so much.